Let's go into the broader issue of net zero and the politics in Canberra and I guess the woes for the coalition with my colleague Chris Uhlmann, who joins me now. What do you make of the speculation that Sussan Ley will dump net zero? I think, of course, she's going to dump it in some form. It's what it looks like after the Liberal Party takes the decision, Chris. I mean, is it going to be like the Nats? Net zero gone, nada, nothing to do with net zero? Or is it going to be, as I keep saying, this half-pregnant outcome, which I think will be an albatross for the Liberal Party?
Yeah, well, Peter, that's the dilemma that Sussan Ley finds herself in at the moment. I'm sure that there is momentum inside the Liberal Party from those who oppose net zero to try and get this changed. But also we've seen from the public statements of people like Dave Sharma and Jane Hume that there is resistance inside the party because they're concerned that they're going to lose votes off to the left. And so Sussan Ley finds herself in the most invidious of positions, which is trying to reconcile that two sides of her party. Look, I just want to make this point. I'm not writing policy for the Liberal Party, but I make this observation is that what might happen, what appears to be about to happen, is that the Liberal Party will make the worst of all possible decisions and please no one. So if it just fiddles with the wording and says not Labor's net zero or something along those lines, well, then those who want it dumped will be furious and they'll drift off in their direction. And those that want it kept will believe that the Liberal Party can't be believed in any event. And you can see exactly where the government would go with this. It's just simply to say, well, look, they've watered down the language, means they're not going to do it. And so they've essentially gotten nowhere. They essentially have to make some kind of concrete decision that they can defend.
Well, Dave Sharma's not a stupid man. I mean, he would know if they don't have a coalition at the next election, they're not competitive. There is no way that they'll ever be able to govern in their own right. This is the Liberal Party. So I think that's a nonsense that, people saying that this is something we should die on a hill about. I absolutely do not think you break the coalition on an issue like this. But I guess more to the point, the moderates inside the party who say we've got to hang on to net zero so we don't bleed votes on the left. Well, hang on, you had net zero in 2019 and 2022 and it didn't win you a teal seat. I mean, the only bloke who got a teal seat back was Tim Wilson. He fought on superannuation. All the other seats that they lost with the position of net zero. And you look at the news poll numbers today, the people that are leaving the coalition and moving across to One Nation, they ain't lefties, right? This is the Conservative base that are walking. Question is, can you get them back? Or do you entrench it like we see is happening in the United Kingdom, where for no money now will anyone go back to the Conservatives that are locked into reform? I think reform is just going to keep growing that base. That's the problem the coalition's got.
Yeah, Peter, well, I think the real problem that it had at the last election was that it defined a position, then it didn't defend its position. So I thought that they had a fairly credible position, but then they got spooked about the idea that nuclear was unpopular, and then they refused to defend it. Remember, someone said behind the scenes at some stage that every day we're not talking about nuclear, we're winning. No, you're not. You were losing because you set up an expectation and you failed to fulfil it. I have never seen a head sticking up higher than Minister Chris Bowen's at the moment. It is just waiting to be kicked. On almost every day, you will find a story which shows that the things that he says just do not add up in the real world. People are suffering from bill shock because of electricity prices. And last week he was arguing about wholesale prices going down. Well, I can tell you retail prices are going up and they've not yet begun to go up anywhere near as high as they are. This is crippling people. We're seeing energy poverty on the rise. What we're also seeing is the fact that there will be energy rich and energy poor. So if you can afford, you've got a big house, you've got a big roof, put solar panels on it, get a subsidy, you get battery subsidies, you get an EV subsidy, fine. If you're a renter, if you don't own your own home, if you're a poor person, you are essentially subsidising the scheme that the Labor Party is putting in place at the moment. So if you can't find a way to fight, and I thought that this week, look, the Labor Party was always going to come after the Liberal Party this week, so run at the knife. Have the argument. Point out all of these things. Say to Chris Bowen every single day, when are prices coming down, Minister Bowen? Will you guarantee that they will come down? What about business costs? When will they come down? What about all of these bailouts that we're seeing at the moment? What's causing those? There is so much ammunition. It's just amazing to see that not a single shot essentially is being fired.
But you lose every fight you don't have, Chris. If you're not in the ring, you're not in the game, but they can't get in the ring because they lack policy clarity. I mean, you know, the reason John Howard could fight on a whole range of even unpopular things is he had conviction and position policy clarity. Abbott had policy clarity. I mean, he only won by a vote in the party room. You know, Sussan didn't win by a lot either, but he had absolute clarity. And let's not forget back then in 2009 when he won the leadership, we had three Liberal leaders, John Howard, Brendan Nelson, Malcolm Turnbull and Abbott, four in 3 years. I mean, the party, yes, in news poll terms it's bad now, but I'd have to argue it was just as broken back then. But clarity was key, taking the fight up to Labor. This is what they're missing now. And I have to say, to be brutally honest, Sussan Ley is not there because there's party room support on the left or the right. She's there because the right don't want her and the left haven't agreed who they're going to support if they knock her off. So she's there as a placeholder only. I can't see that she recovers at all during this term in the Parliament. I think the judgment calls on T-shirts and you know, Kevin Rudd and all the other things is absolutely killing her at the moment. But at least she could be remembered and go down in history for cleaning up this mess, staking out a position, junking net zero, and at least putting some fight back into the party before she moves on.
Well, look, you know, as I say, I do feel for her because I think that she's been handed the most atrocious of positions by the people that came before her. You know, Peter Dutton and Scott Morrison have a lot to answer for when we look at the wreckage of the Liberal Party at the moment. But when you talk about clarity, that's what we got from the National Party on the weekend. And look at the spring in the step of the National Party now. They know where they stand and they're prepared to fight on it. And why do they feel confident? Because they know that COP's coming up soon. That's the Jamboree. It'll be held in Brazil. But by the way, that the Brazilian government's announced about 127 new oil leases as it hosts this particular event. The largest carbon footprint on Earth is about to descend on Brazil. And what do we see? That more than 120 countries have not put in their 2035 targets, as Australia has. So we're getting more and more lonely in this debate around the world. Net zero is being abandoned by countries either in deed or in word, as the United States has done, and it's led the in word side. And indeed, watch what everyone else is doing at the moment. This is fantasy football, but it comes with real costs. And I'll give you two more that are yet to be debated, but I'm sure the National Party would like to take them up. We're looking at now dietary guidelines that will be issued soon. They will also have this footprint of net zero over them. It won't be what's good for you, it'll be what's good for the planet when they tell you what to eat next time around. And this this paper that's out at the moment on cutting speed limits on country roads from 100 to 80 kilometres an hour, there's also a sustainability argument being put forward to that because we will use less fuel. If you want permanent, COVID-level interference in your life for the rest of your life, then sign up for net zero.